In this video, we're talking about CSS drop down. Okay, so I will create a HTML structure inside HTML. Inside this body, I will now create a div. Sorry about this. I'll create a div. I'll create a div element. Inside that div, I'll create another two divs inside. Okay. Instead of two div, let me give. Okay, let me see how this goes. Let me save. Let me give this div. Okay, then okay, so I will now let me write some text. Before I do that, let me add a paragraph that will, or let me use header one that will illustrate what I'm doing. Inside this header one, let me say something like let me say kind of let me use a test. Hover over me, uh, over me to display to display hidden text. Let me use it this way. Hidden tests. There's something comes wrong in this hidden. Think what do I miss in this hidden? Think this hidden is it collect now? Hidden is not supposed to be hidden. Let me make it to display. Okay, hover over me, hover over me. Let me use this word, hover over me to drop down to display test. Let me just leave it this way. Just the test that will display in the screen. Okay. Okay, having said that, then inside my div I will create a, let me write a random word that will display when I hover over this, kind of a drop down. What I will now do, I will say lorem. Let me give it a random words of, let me say 40. I think is okay. It will be showing now, but when I enter CSS it will disappear. Okay, then next thing I will do, I will now give it a class. Let me give this what is it called? Let me give this div a class name. Let me call it main. Okay, let me call it main. Okay, then coming down now, this is not what I want. Why shifting? Okay, then inside this, which other thing did I did? I give this one the div main div. Okay, let me just do this way so it will look more cleaner. Let me create this test inside this second div. Let me use a p tag inside so it will look more better for me. Okay. Okay, so I will now write my text inside this paragraph so it will look more smaller. So let me use the lorem. Let me say lorem. Let me say lorem 30 so the text will reduce. Okay. Okay, this is better. Okay, now I'll give let me give this one, this is the header, our header one. Let me give it a class name of let me say header. Let me just say something like head. Okay, head one. Let me leave it that way. Then coming down, let me give this div that contain our paragraph a class name. Let me call it let me just call it any name. Any name, doesn't really matter. Does it really matter actually? Since it contains our paragraph, let's give it something like test. Let me say test. Let me say test. I think test is okay. Okay, so what we have now, we have three classes. So we use class selector in this particular one that we'll be illustrating. Okay, so inside first of all, let me link my external CSS. Okay, so doing that, we'll do link. Okay, so if you don't know how to link your external CSS, go and watch my CSS insert. You understand what we did. Okay, having done this now, I think what we have here, we have about three classes. One is main, one is head, and the next one is text. Okay, So first of all, I will call main. I will use class selector main, then no dot main, not just main, dot main, dot main. Okay, inside this main, I will use the position. After this position, I will use relative. Okay, I'll use relative. Okay, then I'll also use display inline. Although I'm gonna just use it. Say display inline. I want inline block. So it will still be there. Okay, I have some little effect, but it's not that much. Okay, then the next that I'll be doing, I'll be calling the one that holds our content. Okay, so what we actually do, actually this thing that we add to this our header, I don't think it makes sense. And let me remove that class. Let me just leave it for us. So just for this header, just to display this text. Okay, so the next thing I'll be doing now, I will sorry about this. The next thing I'll be doing, come inside our CSS, I'll call this class, the one that contains our text. I will say dot test, which is our class name, dot test, open our declaration block. Then inside I will now I will call few properties inside. First of all, I will call position absolute, position absolute, position. Then inside the position, I will now use absolute, so it can be able to give us what we want. Then if you don't understand what this relative and absolute mean, just go and watch my video. You want to watch my CSS position, you understand all these things. Okay, so the next I'll be adding, I will say this doesn't display, and display I'll give it none. So if I give it none, the text will disappear. The text will disappear. You can see that. Then what we now do now, we say we use a pseudo class, so that when we hover over this our text here, this our header one, it will it will display our contents. Okay, it will display this our text. So what we now do is we will have to use what's it called, the main. I think that is what we're going to use. So what we're going to do, once when I hover over this thing, this test will display. So I think the best thing I will do is I'll use a shard. I'll use, since this is our main the div that contain all this, I'll use a shard. I'll use shard after. First of all, this is our main. I'll say main, main, not main, just dot main, because it's a class. We give it a class name main, then you put a colon, then you use your pseudo class, which is hover. Inside this hover, after this hover, then we now put this sign, which means a child. Which child am I targeting? I'm targeting the content, which is dot test. Okay, so dot test. Okay, then I will now open our declaration block. What do I want to happen inside the declaration block? Once when I hover over this thing, I want the block, this our test, to display. So I will now say display, display block. Okay, so if I hover over it now, that text will appear now. You can see that. You can see if I hover it, the text will appear. Okay, so that is how to do this one. So moving on, we will not, this is not only what, this is a kind of a test drop down. You will see the test, but we'll do another one, so you see different types of drop down. So in this one, this next one we are going to do, let's go to our first of all, let me wipe this our I think I wipe it because I will rewrite another CSS. So let me just make some changes in our HTML. I want to rewrite other things in another pattern, the one that we mostly see, because this would not normally see this type of drop down. Let's do the real world drop down. Let me create this paragraph. In this header one, I will replace it with button. I will replace it with button. Then also here I'll give it a button. I'll give it a button. Okay, then the next thing I will do now, to give it a class name, this button I'll give it a class name of let me say yeah, Let me say class, because since it's a button, if I'm only using one button, does it really necessary that I should? I'm not using more than one button, so let me just use element selector. Since we are not using more than one button, no need of making it unique. Okay, so the next thing I will do now, inside this our div class, let me just give it a name called, let me say something like um that test is not necessary. Let me say, yeah, let me use link no, that link that link is an element. It will not, let me give it because what we want to do, when the thing drop it, let me say okay, yeah, let me say drop let me say drop list. Let me use underscore drop list. Yeah, I think this test makes sense. Okay, so inside this place now, use anchor tag. I use anchor tag, which is a. Then inside the href, use hash. This hash key, it means that it will not go anywhere. When you click it, it will not redirect you to anywhere, to any place. Okay, so inside this test, I will just, let me use the normal thing that we normally see on daily basis. Say home. Then you can see the output. If you click it, it will not redirect you to any place. Okay, so let me duplicate it. I think let me make it up to 4. Okay, let me say home. Let me say about us, about. Then the next one, let me give the next one let me say something like I assume this is a website. Okay, let me say items. Is that making sense? Let me say contact us. Let me just use, yeah, contacts. Yeah, this one makes sense. Contact us. Okay, then the last one, let me give the last one a kind of let me say blogs. So let me just make it looks a little bit better. Okay, I don't think I'm doing any other thing. Okay, I have the hash inside them, so it's not redirecting to any place. It's not redirecting to any place. Okay, now now what I will now do is, now I will remove this text and leave it. Let me just say something like, let me use block text inside this button, the one that we display. Let me say let me use uppercase. Okay, let me say hover. Okay, let me say hover. Okay, drop hover to drop. Okay, let me make the text bold so it will be more bold. And let me say I'll use the B. Let me lower case. I'll use B, which is bold elements. Let me grab this. Let me just retype it. I will write it inside this bold, so the text will be bold. Let me say I will use uppercase. Let me say hover to drop list. Okay. Yeah, hover to drop list. I think this one makes sense to me. Okay, having done this, I think I'm done with this one. I have first class, which is my main class, that the div that contains, and then I have button, and then I have another div. Okay, inside that div I have my content, which is anchor tags, these are link tags. Okay, that I will now let me reduce this screen so I can have enough space in my CSS. Okay, now that we're inside CSS, I will start by calling the main div, so I'll use the class name. I will use class selector and the element selector. So I will say dot main. I'll open a declaration block. I will give it a position of relative position, not inherit but relative. I say relative. Okay, then the next thing I'll give it a display. Yeah, I'll give it a display inline. Display inline. Thank you, Emmet. It's moving fast. Okay, now the next thing I will do now, I will call the button. I will call the button. Since we don't use class, we just give it a just call the button element. This is the only place we are using a button element selector. So button, open our declaration block. I'll give the button some properties and values. Okay, let me just pad it for. Let me say padding. Let me give it. Let me say 14 pixels. Let me, is it, yeah, it's a little bit bold. I love that. Okay, then next I will make the test. The test is already aligned in the center. It's already aligned in the center, but I have to put test align so that in case if there's any changes, maybe if I thought that I may want to change or have any effect, will still remain that. So I'll give it a test align. Test align. I'll say I'll give it center. Then the next thing I'll be adding, I will give it a background color. Let me give the background color of which color will I use now? Let me use aqua and see what it looks like. Let me use hexadecimal. It's more faster for me. How does it look? I think this one makes sense. This thing is aqua. Please, this is a hexadecimal and this is a hexadecimal form of representing a color. So if you don't know how to do hexadecimal, just go and watch my CSS colors. You understand what I did. But if you know the name of this color, you will just put it there. Still the same thing. Just if you put aqua, this color is aqua. If you put aqua there, it will reflect. It will still give you the same thing. Okay. Having said that, let me declare border to nothing. Let me say border none. I don't want any border yet. Does that really need that border? Let me give it a border. Let me give it a border. Let me give it a border. I think I will need that border. Let me give it a border. Let me say 2 pixel 2 pixel insert. Let me use insert. Yeah, I think it makes sense, but it's just not that kind of sense. Let me say insert. Let me give it a golden lodge. Golden, not this one. Say golden. Golden Lord, this color, I think, yeah, it's more visible and it looks more okay. How about, let me do it outset and see what it looks like. Outset, this one, it looks even more better. So just this border around the button. Okay, now the next thing I'll be doing now, here's my pointer. Okay, then the next line, I think I'll give this button, is it really necessary to do it? Because this button now, let me just give it width. Let me give it width. Let me give it a 250 pixel, 250 pixel. Yeah, it will expand a little bit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, then next thing I'll give the inside text. Let me give the inside text a color. This black seems to be okay. This this black is okay. To me is okay. Is okay. The only thing I will do, let me just increase the font. Let me just increase the font size of the text the text inside the button. Let me say font size. Let me give it if I use larger, how will it look like? Uh, Perfect. It looks very nice. I love the size. So it's now very bold. Okay. So I don't want to give it a color. If I change that color, it might not match or correspond with that background color. So the black correspond with that aqua color. So having said that, I think I'm done with button. So the next thing I'll be doing now um, is to work on the content, which is this our content, or should I say the second div inside our main div, which have the class name of drop list. So I'll call that class dot drop list. Put our underscore list yeah list. Then open our declaration block. Then inside this our declaration block now, I'll give it a position of position absolutes. Okay. Then the next thing I will do now is I will set it to display nothing for now. Say display none. Use the letter none. Okay. So the next thing I'll do, I'll give it a width of, you can see it's not displaying anything. I'll give it a width of let me say 100%. So it can take the full inside of the what is it called, inside of our this div, because this div, let it just take the whole inside of our div, so it will be 100%. Let me make it 100%. Shift 100%. Okay, then the next thing I'll be doing now, let me give this our drop down list a sort of how I say it now. I want to give it a kind of a shadow. When it drops down, it will give a shadow. Okay. Okay, let me just give it a box shadow. Let me just say box shadow. Okay, let me give it a value. Which one will I use now? I think if I make use of how will it look like now? Should I really give that shadow a color? Not actually, but let me just give it a random. Let me say 0 0. No, let me say 0 space. Let me give it 12 space. Let me give it 12 pixels, so not 12 pixels. And space. Let me give it. Let me say 16 pixels. Okay. Then comma. Let me give another one. Okay. Let me just what's happening to this my pointer. Inside this place, within this comma, you can add a color. That's the only last parameter it will accept. Okay, but for now, let me just leave the color. Let me declare the other one. Let me say 0 space 0, and then give this one 20 pixel. When I hover over it, and if it does not give me what I want, I can easily adjust the shadow. Okay, so I'm okay with this now. So the next thing I will do after this shadow now, I think it's time to call the pseudo class. Okay, I'll call the pseudo class. If you don't know how to make use of pseudo class, go and watch my CSS video on pseudo classes. You understand how to use pseudo classes and what they really mean. Okay, I will not explain that in this video. So for me to do that, I'll use a because for this pseudo class, this is the whole valence. So I will really need to um I will need to use a child, this main and then target the child. I think is the best way to do this. So to do that, I will say main, not I will say main, main, main dot main, which is our class name. Okay, this dot main now then call the hover class, this pseudo class. Then I'll give this this is our main, then colon, this the then the next thing is our hover class name, which is hover. We're using hover. There are a lot of hover, but there are a lot of pseudo classes, but I'm making use of hover. Okay, now having said that, I'll use this sign, these signs. Okay, if you don't know what this sign means, go and watch my CSS video on CSS. Go and watch my CSS combinators. You understand what this thing does. Okay, so it's child. We are targeting the child of this main, which is among which of this child we'll be targeting the content, which is our drop down list. Okay, targeting that one. So I'll be calling the class name, which is dot drop down list. Okay, then after saying that, we'll now say open a block, a declaration block. I will now give it, let me, because it will display block when I hover over it. When I hover over it, it will display block. Okay, it will also display block. I think it is also necessary. It have to display block. Okay, so I'll give it a display block. Display. Yeah, display block. Okay, display block. Okay, then the next thing I'll be doing now is, okay, what next am I to do? Okay, it's displaying it. Okay, this shadow, look how this shadow, I think the shadow looks a little bit visible. The shadow is very visible. Okay, it's showing me the shadow and it's showing me the block. Okay, so what else am I going to do now? I think I will give this content, this a element which contains our links. I'll give them a specified property and value. I think it will help in this drop down. I think it will help. So what I will now do, I will also use this child combinator pattern to also do it. So where is it located? It's located inside our drop down list. So what we're going to do, we'll call dot drop down list, dot drop down list, which is our class name. So inside that we will use this combinator. Then what are we looking for? We are looking for one to give property and value to the child of this drop down list, which is this a. Okay, but if you give them, okay, let me not go for it, because if you give each of these a different classes, you can actually target that class. Yeah, but I will not cover that in this. You can watch my CSS combinator to understand it better. So I will use a is an element which represents all this, which represent these links you are seeing here. Okay, having said that, I will now open a declaration block. Inside this declaration block, I'll give it a display block. I think yeah, the first thing I will give it a display block. Okay, the next thing I will do okay, the next thing I will do now, let me give it a padding. I think the padding is really necessary because it will need to be separated from the borders of those need to be separated from the borders. Okay, let me give it a 14 pixels, 14 pixels. Okay, then the next thing I'll be doing now, let me just give it a color. If I give it a color of black, which is the text color of black, okay, look at this thing that we did. Look at the effects of the what we just did now. Okay, okay. If I give this text black color now, how will it look like? It will make sense. I think it will really make sense. Okay, let me give the text a color. Let me say text. Uh, what's it? Not text. Just color. It will just target the text. Okay. Inside, let me give it a black. If the black does not give me what I want, I will just black looks nice. But what if I make it a gray color? So what if I say a gray color? What will it look like? It looks a bit fainting. To me, it makes sense a bit. It really makes sense, but black will be more visible. For the sake of our video, let's leave it at black. You can add any style you want, depends on what you want. Put our semicolon. Then I don't like this line under this text. Let me see whether how to remove. Let me see whether text decoration setting text decoration to none will remove it because I don't really like that underline. And text decoration, let me give it a none and see whether it will really remove it. Yeah, I think it will remove it. I don't need all those underline in the links. Okay, having done this now, okay, the next thing I'll be doing now, I'll be adding I think I still need to add some property to this content hover because not content this I'll give not what am I saying please. I will kind of create because what I want to happen is I want to give it kind of when I hover over it, when I hover over this, it's not only going to have the effect will not be only on this one. This one also will have their own hovering effect. When I hover over it, it will manifest some effects. These buttons here, not actually button, but these links here, this selection, this home about contact us blog. So they will also have their own hover. So what I will now do is to do that is very simple. What I will now do is since it's inside the drop down list, we also do the same thing we did here. So to do that, what we are going to do is we call our drop down list, which is the name of our class, which contain this those of our links. So we say drop down list, which is name of our class. Then we use a shared combinator symbol. We use it. Okay, so we want to target a particular thing inside that, so we use this a, okay, which is our a tag. Okay, okay, so having said that, we now call the we put colon and then call the hover class hover uh hover. What is happening? This is what I want to call hover. Is there any problem? Why is it? Is the space too much? I don't think so. Why am I seeing this thing here? Okay, let me put my declaration block first. I think it will disappear. Yeah, it will have disappeared. So I want to give properties to those things. These things when they will be listed, I will give them property. When I hover over them, the property will manifest or show. So what I will now do, I will give the color. Let me give, since we have black as our default, no need of changing the text color. But let me do something. Let me make them gray, then increase their font size, and then give them a background color to make more sense. Okay, so what I will now do is I will give, let me go back. What I will now do inside this place now, what I will now do, let me give it a hovering color of let me say dark gray. Let me call that gray. So let it faint as in faint a little bit. Okay, let's put our semicolon. Then the next time we'll do, I'll give it a font size. Okay, a font size. What is our default font size? Our default font size doesn't we don't have any default font size. Let me check our drop down list. This our drop down. There's no, where is it? Where is this our this there this place? Do you have any? We don't have any default. Let me add text and test let me add the distance so I can easily double it so it can be easy for me. Let me say test test, no, not test, font size. Inside this font size, let me give it say something like 2 em. I know it's too much. Let me see, it's too much, but it's, yeah, I think it's good for this our video. It's good, but I will reduce it. I will want, when I hover over it, it will glow to this one, but I will reduce it. Let me reduce it to 0 point, let me say 0.5. What does it look like? It's no, it's not good, it's too small. Let me, how about 1 em? Okay, yes, this is very perfect. This is our normal listing. This, it will be this way. So when I hover, I will now come inside the hover now, and then increase this font size to the double of its size when we hover over it. So inside this hover, I will now give it 2 em. So it will look like that. And it will be times 2 of the size when we hover over it. Okay, so the next thing I've given it a background color. Let me see, give it a background color of I think blue will make sense in the, because most of the time it's always blue. It's used to be blue, okay, but let me use, instead of using direct blue color, let me see it, let me do it so you see what I mean. Instead of using blue color, I want to use let me see, if I hover over it, now you can see the effect. You can see what it's doing because of this hover. It increased the size and also changed the background color with the text color. You can see that, but let me use RGBA, which is red, blue, green, alpha. That's the reason I want to use. I want to use it so that the text, it will look close to what I want. Let me use RGB, RGBA. This is what I want to use. Let me give it. Let me give red 20 pixel. Then let me give this one. Let me say not pixel. Let me just give them 2020 and see. Just adjust it to what I want. Let me say 20. Then alpha, let me give alpha 0.1. Let me see the effect. Let me see the effect. This is not what I want. So what I will now do, I will increase the intensity of, let me leave this one as not. Oh, thank you, Jesus. So the only thing they changed here, okay. What am I going to change now? I think this one is okay. Then what I'm not forgetting another, there's another I want to talk about. What if, because this thing is dropping down too fast, kind of it's just dropped down, but if I add transition, I think the transition will make it to come out slowly. And let me add that transition to, let me add transition duration to this our main, and see what happens. Let me say transition duration, transition duration. Let me give it let me say 2s, which is 2 seconds. Oh, not transition, transition duration. Duration, yeah. Supposed to I don't think this will give me what I really want. I think it's supposed to be inside somewhere. The transition duration is supposed to be inside. What is dropping down is not the button. What is dropping down is a drop down list, which is that this is our content. Let me add that transition duration here and see what happens. Transition duration. Transition duration. Let me say, if it does not work, I might skip it and move to another thing. It's not really giving me what I want. But instead of wasting our time here, I want to do another thing inside this our drop down, the pattern of drop down, kind of the pattern of another pattern of drop. Okay, so I want to add that, I want to make this into this, the drop down. When I'm hovering over this ones, it will have some kind of transition and kind of animation effects. I don't want this fastness. Let me just make it, let me just give you some transition effects. I'll use transition duration. So if you don't know how to do transition duration, go and watch my other video, you understand it better. Okay, my CSS transition, you understand it better. So let me give it, let me say 2 seconds and see. You can see the effect. You can see the effect. I prefer it this way instead of just within a twinkle of an eye to do something like this. I think this is more better. Then let me reduce to 1 second and see what it looks like. Uh, is good. If you remove this second, instead of this one, it will have some kind of a animation effect. You can see that this one look more better. I think this one makes more sense. Okay, so that's it for CSS drop down. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one.